Okay, everyone. Well, it's wonderful to welcome you this afternoon. People online, I have to report we have a great thing here, which is a hubbub in a room. Don't you miss that? So my name's Georgia Mason. I'm director of the Campbell Centre for the Study of Animal Welfare. And on this lovely spring day, and the groundhogs are now out at last, let's take a moment just to be grateful for the land we're on and to remember that what we call Canada all resides on the traditional territories and unceded lands of various First Nations and indigenous peoples. And here in Guelph, of course, we live and work on the land of the Mississaugas of the Credit. And in 2021, we had some indigenous speakers presenting, and you can see them on our YouTube site. But still, our research seminar series and our mini series have been very skewed towards North American and European presenters. And today's CCSAW seminar is helping us break that mold yet further. So I'm really excited to introduce Dr. Oluwaseun Iyasere, who's speaking to us from Nigeria. Well, no, actually, she's from Nigeria and has a research group based in Nigeria. And here in Nigeria, the animal welfare issues, how you turn recommendations into policy, and even the species that are most relevant are obviously very different from here, but just as important. So Dr. Iyasere is a senior lecturer in the Department of Animal Physiology at FUNAB, which is the Federal University of Agriculture in Nigeria. Right now, she's based in Berlin, where she has an Alexandra Humboldt Fellow, so she's speaking to us from Berlin. She has a PhD from Newcastle University, which she got in 2014. Then she returned to Nigeria to go back to her faculty position, and really sort of that rekindled her passion for animal behavior and welfare. And if you look at her Google Scholar page, you see this amazing, like, massive acceleration of publications and outputs starting in 2017 and carrying on to scary, dizzy heights today. So it's really great to have her present today, and she'll be talking about animal welfare activities and research in Nigeria. Even when you have questions, please pop them in the chat and then we'll revisit them at the end. And people in the room will figure out how to get you to ask questions. It's always a challenge. Okay, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Georgia, for the wonderful introduction. I want to appreciate everybody for joining in today's presentation. I am Oluwaseun Serah. And today I'll be talking to us about animal welfare activities and research in Nigeria. So the outline of my presentation, I will talk briefly about a little introduction about Nigeria, what you don't know about Nigeria, indigenous technologies that are related to animal welfare in Nigeria. I'll discuss animal welfare related activities in Nigeria and animal welfare research in Nigeria. And then I will conclude with a SWOT analysis of animal welfare in Nigeria. Yes, as a means of introduction, the Nigerian flag has two colors, the green and the white. The green stands for the natural wealth, and the white stands for peace and unity. But today, I'm using the green to represent the natural resources that we have. We have human resources, and we also have the animal resources. So if one of the green on the left, if it stands for the large human population that we have, and the green on the right represent the large animal resources that we have, then the white in the middle brings the human and the animal components together in peace and unity. And then on the right hand, we have the Nigerian coat of arms, where we have two horses and the red eagle. The horses stand for dignity, while the eagle represents strength. So what else do I want to share to you about Nigeria? This is the map of Nigeria with 36 states, and we have over 500 spoken languages, over 250 ethnic groups, over 200 million people, and we have diverse indigenous animal species. So it's a land blessed, full of rich milk and honey. So when we talk about the Nigerian culture and animal welfare, Animal welfare is part of our culture, only that we may not have taken time to understand what it means. There is the expression of animal welfare features in our proverbs and also in our religion. I am from the Yoruba tribe by birth and also by marriage, and our proverb is full of a lot of information. And when I look into some of the proverbs, I realized that our forefathers were actually talking about animal welfare. So I'll give you an example by talking about by this, which says, "Ojuni màálù ro, ọ̀bẹ ò dá lọ́rùn." That means a cow is enduring having a knife being placed on its neck when it is to be slaughtered. And what it tells us about animal welfare is that the method in which the animal is being slaughtered, it does not involve any form of stunning. And of course, the animal will experience pain and suffering during this process. And that is the information that is encoded in this proverb that "Oju ni màálù ro," it is not easy to die. That is why we have to look at the ways at which we slaughter our animals, because from this proverb, it tells us that the animal is not finding it easy. Then how can we make that or slaughtering easy for the animal? That is where the animal welfare or the extension of animal welfare comes into play. In our religion, we have the Christian, the Muslim, and the traditional worshippers. And in the Bible and also in the Quran, we are made to understand that God has taught us about how to treat animals properly. And is this not part of what animal welfare is talking about? And in those that believe in the traditional worshippers, they talk about traditional laws and taboos. These laws help to protect some animals. For instance, this table shows the traditional and cultural institutions and traditional laws in a particular place in Cross River. And we observe that there are laws that forbid women from touching civet cats. There are laws that forbid hunters from killing particular kind of animal. These taboos could be due to spiritual reason or for medical reasons, but we also need to look at the other side of it. Placing taboos on so that people don't kill a particular kind of animal, on one hand, is a blessing because it helps in the conservation of this animal species. So our forefathers, they are farmers, and they also have animals, around them in their compound. And when you go, it's either they have goats or chickens around that they pour food on the floor, do everything, the little they can afford in terms of providing feed, a place for the animal to rest, and also treat the animal when the animal is sick. A majority of our animal species are kept under the traditional management system in and around the rural areas. That doesn't mean that because they are in the rural setting, they don't do things that are related to animal welfare. They actually do. It's only the level at which they do it that may be very low. So I have, I'll be sharing some indigenous technologies that are used by the rural farmers. Here I have pictures of a mother hen and her chicks. You'll notice that the chicks, they were dyed. And the reason for dyeing the chick is to protect the chicks from predators. That is an indigenous technology used by our rural farmers as a means of protecting these chicks from being predated upon. And the principle behind it is that when they change the color of the chick, the prey animal is deceived and they cannot, perceive that this is their prey, and they leave them. Of course, it leads to increased survival of the chicks, which is good for the animal. And for the mother hen, it is very, very good to have, because I have observed personally at several times that when a mother hen and her chicks go to forage, there are times when they are attacked by hawks, and if the hawk is trying to pick the chick, the mother hen, it depends on how aggressive that she is, she tries to fight back. She tries, to protect her chicks. And that shows that it is a loss to her. She can feel the pain if she loses any of her chicks to a predator. So if this traditional method of using dye would help to deceive the predator from identifying the chicks and taking them from her, then of course it is good to the mental health of the hen, because she doesn't have to suffer loss. She doesn't have to experience any trauma of loss for her chicken. This is quite an interesting thing to me, and I think scientifically this needs to be explored further, because there are two pictures here. One is using the pink, and the other one is like the purple. But I am still yet to find scientific reports on how this has actually helped, really. But I know the farmers have reported that it does help, to safeguard the chicks. So the other thing that our rural farmers use is they depend on herbs and spices available in order to treat the animals when they are sick, probably because they may not have access to veterinary practices around, or maybe it is expensive for them to afford. So they make use of herbs, spices around to treat the animals, and it actually works. So here I have a picture of spotted pumpkin, and here is ginger and turmeric. They are used to treat the animals. The spotted pumpkin is known to have antibiotic properties, and it helps in treating the animals. So in the little way that our rural farmers know, or based on what is available in their environment, they still take good care of their animals in terms of making sure that when they treat them when they are sick on time. Now, we'll now need to step a bit up and away from the rural farmer level to what science is teaching us, or the modern way of doing things in Nigeria. So here I'll be talking about animal welfare related activities in Nigeria. Yeah, I will start by sharing the impact of the Universities Federation for Animal Welfare, how they have helped in increasing animal welfare in Nigeria. And they do this through what is called the U4 Link scheme. And I'm happy to tell you today that 5 institutions in Nigeria now belong to the U4 Link scheme. And that means members that work in this institution can have access to information about animal welfare. They can have access to some research grants if their work is related to welfare. And what we do as U4 Links, because I am the U4 Link to my university, the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, what we do is that we help promote animal welfare science. We help to share the U4 newsletter and to organize activities that are related to animal welfare. And in my university, I joined in 2019. I have been able to establish the Animal Welfare Student Club. And these students, over 100 of them, they are really doing, activities that are related to animal welfare. And I believe if we are able to train the younger ones, then we have hope that the younger ones will be able, to carry on with this battle, and to increase awareness and to make everybody in the community to be aware about the importance of animal welfare. Yeah, in 2022, there was this national workshop on animal welfare that was sponsored by the International Society for Applied Ethology in collaboration with the Open Philanthropy Project and the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, and the Federal Ministry of Agric and Rural Development. And this was the first time, I would say, a nationwide workshop was organized for stakeholders in animal welfare. Then we had over 100 people in person, because it was an hybrid event, and 300 participants online. We had it for 2 days, one in the north and one in the south. And the outcome of this workshop was enormous, because at the end of the workshop, I got the feedback from the members were like, we don't want this to end. We just need to kick off from here. And it led to So the creation of an animal welfare stakeholders telegram group with over 108 members, where we share activities that are related to animal welfare. And after this meeting, the meeting was covered by the media, and I will let you see what happened.
The federal government says it will implement fully the animal welfare policy in its bid to ensure that Nigeria's livestock and poultry products compete favorably in the international market. The Chief Veterinary Officer of Nigeria, Olaniro Labisi, said government is ready to achieve the future animal welfare policy to promote efficiency and profitability of livestock and poultry production in the country.
Thank you.
Right.
So the government is now
the federal government,
and actually they've taken it up, and
the federal government says it will implement fully.
It was announced that the National Council on Animal Welfare in Nigeria was inaugurated. So we are really making progress. So I would like to talk about what the Animal Welfare Group have been doing when regarding animal welfare. The Animal Welfare Group was founded in 2019 after the gathering of students. These are the lecturers that were there at the first meeting. And here is the mixture of lecturers and students. We came together just to discuss how we could move animal welfare forward in Nigeria. And we had three main missions. The first was to increase awareness in animal behavior and welfare in Nigeria, Africa, and the world at large. And two is to foster collaboration and networking among researchers who are in the field of animal behavior and welfare. And finally, to educate the public on the importance of animal welfare. So we have a social media platform where we share our activities, and we also have a YouTube channel where we upload our webinars. So what we realized after 2 years of coming together to form this group, we realized that we were able to increase the number of people that actually presented their work on the group. And the highest was from Nigeria, which shows that we are trying to encourage ourselves, we are trying to motivate ourselves and to inspire ourselves to do more work as research in this context, within this context, is to do more research and to present it to the group in Nigeria. The second country, according to the country of presenters that presented on the group, the second highest is from Canada. And that means I want to use this opportunity to appreciate Professor Tina Widowski for her support, because most of the people that presented from Canada are actually her students. I want to appreciate that. And so we also have people from other countries. You could see the spread or the diversity of people that have actually presented their work on the animal welfare group. So that, if I take you back to the second mission is for us to be able to collaborate. So once we learn from people outside Nigeria, and those outside Nigeria also learn from what we do in Nigeria, and that is when the collaboration, comes in. But here on the right hand side, the figure shows that the number of presentations were actually more on chickens. Of course, I don't have any reason why most of our presenters are those that work on chickens. So this is an opportunity for me to say that we also need to look into research. We also need to research into other animal species. Yeah, in terms of the category of presenter, we have them divided. We have postgraduate students, we have researchers, teachers, and others. So this group helped, we encouraged, we try to mentor our postgraduate students to present their work. We motivate them so that they can understand what it entails when they are doing research as related to animal welfare. So we also have activities, we have webinars, we have inaugural lectures, and we have a panel discussion. Tina was the fourth inaugural lecturer on our group last year. So for this year, we also have activities already outlined. These are the webinar programs. So please join the, please, if you you can check us up so that you can join our webinars, and it's an opportunity for everybody to learn. And also we have already outlined, this will be the first year that we'll be having 6 inaugural lectures in a single year. We used to have 3 per year, but this year we have 6. So watch out and try to be part of the inaugural lectures. So now, it is one thing for us to increase awareness, to talk to people, to encourage students, to encourage people, but I felt it was important as well to have an established body, you know, to educate us and to train us to have animal welfare officers. Because before 2022, there is nobody, you know, that have been approved as an animal welfare officer in Nigeria. So in collaboration with the Cloverleaf Animal Welfare System, we were able to get some of our students and researchers and stakeholders in animal welfare to participate in this certification course. And today, we're happy to say that in Nigeria, we have 46 animal welfare officers certified by the Cloverleaf Animal Welfare System in the USA, which is a great achievement for us. And we have having these officers means that we can also expand and see how we can, you know, go into the communities, go into the industry, work with the industry, and bring the change that we want. And also, I'm happy to also say that as one of, I was appointed as one of the steering committee member to the Cloverleaf Animal Welfare System. So we have a Nigerian representative in the Cloverleaf Animal Welfare System now. So here I'm going to talk about other people or other organizations or institutions, NGOs, that have been doing 1 or 2 things that are also related to animal welfare in Nigeria. Here I talk about the Green Fingers Wildlife Conservation Initiative, headed by Chinedu Mobo. He runs this wildlife sanctuary and he tries to cater for over 50 species of wildlife. He goes to the wet market, he goes to the bushmeat market, he goes to the traditional market and buys, he tries to get these animals back, because he knows that if he doesn't, you know, try to conserve these animals, all these animals, they are going into, they are being endangered. So the way or what they operate is they try to get back these animals from the hands of hunters or from the wet market, and then take care of the animals in his sanctuary, and then later he reintroduces them back into their natural environment. And when these animals are still in the sanctuary, he uses that opportunity to teach the younger children so that they can have an idea of what the Nigerian wildlife species are, and they learn. It's also an opportunity for them to learn about the wildlife in Nigeria. So there is also a body that works on the Environmental Conservation Club. What they do, they also help to conserve flora and fauna resources in the environment. They aid the incessant persecution of animals and unhealthy consumption of wildlife, because if care is not taken, and if we don't preach against irrational consumption of wildlife, there is the opportunity, there is the possibility that we may be endangered with some zoonotic diseases. So this group, the Environmental Conservation Group, help in that regard. So the Animal Welfare Society of Nigeria was registered in 2007, and they go out, you know, to explain things to people, maybe those working at the slaughterhouses, like the picture I have on my right here, a member explaining about humane slaughtering method to abattoir workers. And here, these are students, they are diploma students that are being trained on animal welfare by that society. So we also have a Doctoral Human Support Initiative. They help to foster positive animal welfare practices, and by talking to guardians about how to treat their pets, about how to manage their pets. They host conferences on animal behavior and welfare, and they also go to the extent of taking this message to the classroom to talk to children between the years of 4 to 10 on the basic care of animals. And this group, They are organizing the second Animal Behavior and Welfare Conference in Africa. The conference will be coming up on the 6th of April. And also the good thing about it is that it's an online event and it is free to attend. So if you're happy to be part of it, you can, register for this event. And I'll be giving the keynote address at the conference in April. So that is all about the animal welfare activities. Now I'm back to research. I am a researcher. So let's talk briefly about research activities in Nigeria that is related to animal welfare. I was involved in this international survey where we had 13 countries participate in this, and we wanted to know how the people from this different country responded. I just picked one of the questions here, and we looked at the response of the correspondent on the question, I understand what animal welfare means. And you'll see that Nigeria seems to be in the middle, and we are not really doing bad, as almost 80% of the respondents said they knew what animal welfare was. So the next thing is, how do we rank it? There was a question that looked at the mean ranking of considered importance based on animal species. And looking at the data from Nigeria, of course, we consider that the welfare of human beings should be paramount and should be #1, but the next after humans is chickens. Compared to there are some countries where after humans, it's dog, after humans is cattle, but in Nigeria, after humans is chicken, probably because chickens are easy to rear and there's no religious bias against consumption of chicken meat. So now I will now bring you to the chicken group. My research team, I work with the Nigerian indigenous chickens and turkeys, and this is my team. I have Dr. Duru Sharo, he does a lot about the turkeys and we do the chicken, everything we work together, myself and this was my former master's student, and now he's a senior graduate assistant at the University of Arkansas in the US. So we have done a lot of work, like Mazin said, and of course, this work were based on indigenous species. Remember at the introduction of my talk, I told you that we have large, enormous indigenous animal species in Nigeria that nobody is talking about. And I felt it would be good for me to work with the indigenous species because they still retain their natural behavior. And they are also animals that need to be considered. They are also animals whose welfare is also important to us. So here is a review paper that we published in 2022 about the behavior of Nigerian indigenous chickens. But what I just want to point out here is the figure at the top. You see the proportion of the Nigerian indigenous chicken genotypes. We have three major genotypes, and the normal feather, the frizzled feather, and the naked neck. And we could see that the frizzled feather and the neck, and this survey was done in 2 states in Nigeria, and we could see that the proportion of frizzled feather chicken and naked neck chicken is almost less than 5%. And if care is not taken, these 2 genotypes are endangered. And we should not forget the fact that this naked neck gene, it imposes thermotolerance on these animals, and Nigeria is a tropical region. And if we know that with the impending danger of global warming, we need a breed of chicken that will be able to be able to adapt and live under a hot environmental condition. So there is a lot of genetic potentials that we need to tap from these animals. We need to conserve them and do more research on how to improve their welfare. Here is a picture. These 3 genotypes, irrespective of whether it's a frizzled feather, naked neck, or or normal feather, they still retain this their natural behavior of becoming broody. And here is a picture I took at the research station of a broody hen. And of course, you will see that, you know, the variation in the temperature over her body and that of the egg that she was sitting on. And this is the way, the natural way that the hen helps to control the temperature of the developing embryo. She turns it several times and for the full development of the embryo. So here is a study that was done by my master's student, Oyeniran, and we published it at the Frontiers of Veterinary Science. And we looked at, here we compared two ecotypes. I talked about genotype earlier, but here is ecotype. Ecotype talks about the ecological zone. So the two main ecotypes that we have the Fulani ecotype that prominent in the northern part of Nigeria, and the Yoruba ecotype that is prominent in the southern part of Nigeria. So this study, we wanted to see if there was any difference in the behavior of the Fulani ecotype and the Yoruba ecotype. And the only behavior that we discovered during brooding was that the Yoruba ecotype sat for a longer time while brooding the eggs compared to the Fulani ecotype. Of course, what happened in this study was that we gave them the same number of eggs to incubate. However, there is a possibility that because the Yoruba ecotype have a smaller body size compared to the Fulani ecotype, and there was the need for the hen to sit for a longer time. And we also noticed that the eggshell quality of the Yoruba ecotype was actually thicker than that of the Fulani ecotype. And this could be a reason why they had to sit for a longer time for this transmission of heat, you know, through the brood patch, from the mother to the egg. So, and at the end of the study, we were able to categorize these two ecotypes based on welfare and good management practices that is good for them, and to recommend it to the Nigerian poultry farmers. So you can read up that in the paper. And here we looked at the behavioral responses of two breeds. Maternal care is something that is very important, and it's an emerging area in poultry welfare because chickens or chicks that are reared by mothers tend to be less fearful and do not develop like feather pecking issues later in life. So here I wanted to simulate what the hen vocalization using a playback call, and we try to compare the response of the commercial broiler chicks to the Nigerian indigenous chicks. And we use two types of calls. We use the feed call and the alarm call. Of course, the feed call, it's known as an attractive call and a positive arouser, while the alarm call, it's a negative type of call indicating danger, and it triggers a negative arouser. So what we did at the end of the day, our results show that during the time when the alarm call playback was done, that we saw a significant difference in the behavior of the commercial broilers. The commercial broilers crouched more compared to the Nigerian indigenous chicks during this period, but there was no difference in their behavior when the feedback call playback was done. And here, like I said, we work as my team, we work with the Nigerian indigenous chickens and the Nigerian indigenous turkeys. And here we looked at the three major plumage color of the Nigerian indigenous turkeys, which are the lavender color, the white color, and the black Nigerian indigenous turkeys. And here, based on the different behavioral tests of fear that was done, we're able to categorize based on the plumage color as to the different level of fear. And having this information will be very important to the turkey production industry in Nigeria as to which type of breed is least fearful and how to increase their productivity. Or we need now to look further into what research or what things can be done in order to reduce the level of fear in the highly fearful turkeys. Yeah, so it's not only research on chickens and turkeys that we have that is upcoming in Nigeria. We have an upcoming researcher who is now working on aquaculture and fisheries welfare, and she will be giving a presentation on the metabolic and behavioral responses of fish to routine management and practices and handling procedures. You feel free to join us on farm, the headsman, and he walks the animal, from the north to the south in search of grasses. Several kilometers and several miles per day, and they can only settle maybe where they find grasses or where they find water to drink. And during this process, at times the animals are being beaten with the stick held by the headsman. So the animals experience a lot of suffering during this process, and they walk the animals down. And the animals at times even destroy crops of the other farmers and farmland. And this has economic and environmental effect. And if you look at the picture down here, you see the headsman is tired and he walked the animals down to a river to drink. At this point, the animals may urinate and they may defecate inside this water while they are drinking. And this could be the source of water for the community that is living close to this place. And if they take this water home, they fetch the water from the river, they take it home to cook their food, they could, they could get infected. So this method of the traditional, it's more than just the animals being suffering. It is like a one health issue. It affects the animals. It affects the people, that live around the community. And also, while these animals are walking from one state or from one region to the other, they can also help spread diseases as they are doing that. So what is the way out? What is another way or the best way of rearing this cattle without posing threats to the environment? Here is, this is a ranch system, a cattle ranch system that was founded by Professor Shinowa. He was the former, the pioneer head of department of my department. He's now retired. So he owns this ranch, and from this ranch, he has been able to educate other cattle farmers about the importance of the ranch system. And here you see the animals, they have grasses, they have trees, they can even hide, they can lie down, they can, when the weather is not favorable, and they are also provided with concentrate feed here where they take. So the animals, you see their behavior, they're really, some of them are lying, they're just lying down. This looks more comfortable and more animal friendly than, walking the animal several miles per day under harsh environmental condition. So now, I would conclude using the SWOT analysis of what I have been able to gather from animal welfare in Nigeria. I'll talk about our strengths. Our strength lies on the fact that we have several indigenous species whose welfare is yet to be harnessed, whose potential is yet to be tapped. And our indigenous species still exhibit their full behavioral repertoires. And because Nigeria, we are still yet to meet up with the standard animal protein for an individual. So we still have potential for animal farming. But now that we already understand the welfare implication of it, so it makes sense that when we are trying to increase animal farming, we bring in the animal welfare component into it. So in terms of our weaknesses, of course, we have laws that talk about animal welfare, which are not fully enforced, and so we still have that as one of our weaknesses. And animal welfare is not really taught in most institutions. So if it's possible to have that embedded in the curriculum of institution, it will help students understand the impact or the importance of animal welfare as they study. There's low level of enlightenment, lack of fund for training stakeholders, and there is still a wide gap of the animal between the scientists that do the research on animal welfare and the industry. Yeah. So in terms of opportunity, we have opportunities for collaboration and also several career opportunities in animal welfare. Then in terms of threat, we know that the global warming is a big threat to animal welfare. And in Nigeria, the economic instability is a very big threat because the cost of feed keep increasing and farmers may not be able to afford it. And so the animals may be subjected to some degree of hunger or feed restriction. Some of our culture needs to be changed. And also this policy somersault is something that is affecting animal welfare. And with that, I say God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm happy to take questions.